I'm like, is in a sense, 2020 has aged me more than my age has aged me.
Um, Walk me through a day in the life of Daniel.
Well, again, I think so. Wake up pretty early, 5:30 or so. On a normal day, on a weekend, probably 6, 7 o'clock. Get all my stuff together. If I can get some kind of workout done, sure. If not, then I usually get some of my stuff done earlier, and studying throughout the day. Any assignments throughout the day, and in the evening, I if I'm on call, I'm doing that stuff. If I have any other work, I am doing that. Other than that, I usually give myself time in the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. So I would say from 8 to around 5, I'm working. After 5, if I don't have anything really planned or scheduled, that's my time. So yeah.
Yeah. And what does like your time look like?
Well, my time can consist of various things. I usually like, looking around. It can either be, shopping online, not necessarily shopping. It would be window shopping online. Um, I like driving around campus and just around Baton Rouge or any city that I'm in, just looking at, the different scenery and everything. I also like, whenever the theaters were open, I liked watching movies. So, if I had enough time spare, usually go and watch a movie. Probably not every single day or every single weekend, but probably once a month. That was something that I like to do. Um, what else? And also, I like catching up with friends a lot because, especially nowadays, you don't necessarily get to catch up with a lot of people because of their schedule or they're just not here. So I use that time to either talk to my friends, kind of catch up on their lives, or just talk to people around me. So yeah, and that's my time. As much as it sounds like I'm just giving time to other people, that's how I like to spend my time. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's still valid. I mean, I'm the same way. And speaking of other people, take me back to the place that you call home. Like, what would we see? What would we do?
So home for me is somewhere where I feel comfortable, somewhere where I am at peace, and I know that there's no judgment. There's no, basically, I can be myself without any consequence, without any, criticism, and that can really be anywhere. In a physical sense, home for me is back in Kenner, but is it really home? I don't know. It is, but yeah. But this is home also. This is my safe space in a way right now at my apartment. I can do basically whatever I want as long as there aren't people watching me. I could probably after this I'll probably put on some music and just dance around, which that's something that's people do. You
Yeah.
usually see that in movies, but that I like doing that. I just like going berserk. But yeah, home for me is wherever I can find the peace of mind to do whatever I need to do to either de-stress or just have fun. So yeah.
And so now, why did you choose your major and why did you stick with it like 4 years later?
My major is that's a very difficult question because, well, yeah, it is a very difficult question because the thing is that initially I came into college and being from a first generation college, first generation family in the United States. Well, not a first generation family in the United States. This was a first generation college student in the United States. It was a big culture shock for me to come here, not knowing anyone, not knowing anything about a life of a college student, and just coming across majors and minors that I have never thought would have existed if I wasn't in a state university. Um, Something like graphic design. I mean, well, I thought that people just in computer science did that. Um, Who would have thought that pottery would have been a major, ceramics would have been a major. I mean, I thought people just did that as a hobby, but here we are, we have a whole studio dedicated to it. Um, we thought, microbiology, which is just a class, to be honest, there's a whole major dedicated to it in my field. So me being a biology student, there's a lot of diversity in science in general, but it just goes to show that, once you enter college, once you enter any kind of work field, there's a lot of stuff that you just don't know about and you just come across. And for you to take that all in, you have to have an open mind. And that's the first thing that I did. For being a biologist or being a doctor or anything in science, you have to have an open mind. You cannot be restrained to, you know, um, boundaries that you have put yourself through, or like things that you can't have preset beliefs, coming into college or coming into science, because there's going to be a time, there's going to be a day when you're just going to be like, I thought that was not the case, but here I am and I stand corrected. And you're going to be starstruck to awestruck, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, freshman year, I came in and I was like, do I really want to do this? It seems easy. It wasn't easy. I hated Gen Chem. I think that's one subject that everyone does very bad in because it's general chemistry. People just don't like general chemistry. But then my sophomore year happened, and that was a bit of a pivotal moment in my career because I had just become an RA. I had lost my grandmother, and while I lost my grandmother my second semester freshman year, but it was going on to my sophomore year. Like I was like, where do I go from here? It was like one of those Harry Potter moments. I don't know if you have seen
Mhm.
Goblet of Fire or something like that, or like where Luna Lovegood shows Harry the little horses. Like the only people that can see them are people that have been traumatized, and I'm like, I feel like I can see something,
Mhm.
but yeah, it was my sophomore year was a bit of a pivotal moment, as in I just didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I told my mom that I wanted to change my major, and she was like, no, because she did not know any better. Because she was like, this is what I've seen you do, and that getting that confirmation from someone that I believe in you, you can do this, was vital. Junior year comes around, and I am on the top of my game. I'm like, it's been a year since I've been an RA. It's been a good 2 years since I've lost my grandmother. It's been, it's been 3 years since I'm in college. I have to get a hang of this stuff. And I did. But then COVID hits. Every single year, there's something that comes across that's like, did it really have to happen this year? COVID hits, and I'm doing fantastic in all my classes. Biochemistry, loved it. As soon as COVID hits, my grades drop. And I'm like, I thought I was going to love online schooling, but here I am trying to email a professor saying, hey, can you just give me like a C because C's get degrees? Um, but I got to be in that class, so that was all good. I was underestimating my abilities, but and then here I am a senior, and I'm like just taking all of that in, and it's I'm like it's been a roller coaster of a ride, and here I am, almost like very close, really pushing towards getting my diploma, not my diploma, sorry, not my diploma, my degree, and it's surreal, yeah, it's surreal. At this point, that's all I can name it. It's surreal.
In a similar vein, what were your thoughts in January versus March versus May as COVID really came into what we know it to be right now?
So, spring 2020, yeah, I was taking this class called microbial physiology. This is a class where people talked about, my professor talked about different viruses, different pathogens, different microbial life that can cause diseases in humans. And one of the things that we covered were viruses. And early January was when we got to know that there was such thing as a coronavirus. And our professor was keeping us updated after each class. We had like 10 minutes. At first it was 10 minutes. Then it came to be half the class that we talked about coronavirus. And by March, we were fully engaged in a 30-minute long conversation about where could we go from here. And these, I mean, professors are valuable resources because these are people that have seen, and he's been through SARS, he's been through MERS, he's been through H1N1. I mean, and he's a professor, he knows this stuff. So he was like, this is what the government could do, but obviously he's just a guy. I mean, it's not like the president's gonna be like, okay, what do you think? That's not gonna happen. But and like in January, I was like, okay, I mean, we dealt with H1N1 pretty swiftly. There wasn't a big pandemic. There was hysteria, there was panic, but it faded away as quickly as it came. Same with the Ebola scenario back in 2014.
Yeah.
Um, and in January, I was like, the government got this. We're America. We got this. Um, the irony was that we were America, but we weren't the America that we were back in 2014 or 2011. We were 2016's America, and we made some major mistakes. That's just opinions coming from me, but um, and that resulted in March, which made us lock down the whole country, which didn't help anyone. But I was like, as a college student going into my senior year, my first thing that came to my mind was, am I going to have a graduation? Because the class didn't have a graduation. Class of 2019 did not have a class of 2020 didn't have a graduation, and I'm like, well, am I going to have one? Things didn't look too bright whenever March came along. Then May, June, July, there were a lot of other things that happened apart from COVID. There were the protests, and there was a plethora of other things that just happened throughout a period of 4 months. Um, and it was like a revelation period for me. Not for me, but like it was a revelation period for humanity in a way because so much happened, and it wasn't necessarily so much had happened. It was the depth of the situation that was alarming and tense. So come August, I came back to the role of being an RA, and I come back to classes and everything. In March, whenever I scheduled my classes, all of them were supposed to be in person. But in August, when I came back, all of them were online, except for one. And now I'm like, well, this doesn't look too bright when it comes to graduation, also. And I was right. But here we are. I mean, they're doing something about the in-person graduations this semester, so that's a good thing. Next semester, we can only hope for the best. We really don't know. I mean, it's just going to be a month by one month. We just go as the day goes. But August happened, and I wasn't too sure about anything, to be honest. I wasn't even too sure that I would be able to get through 2020 without contracting disease myself, because people were just not being cooperative. They were not wearing masks. They were throwing tantrums, and they just didn't understand that for humans, freedom wasn't oh, I don't get to wear a mask because it's my life, it's my body. It's, hey, I want to wear a mask because I get to live. That's freedom for me. So yeah. And then here I am in November. I'm like, I'm is in a sense, 2020 has aged me more than my age has aged me. So, like being 21, it's not a big deal. Going through 2020 has aged me a lot more. It's probably made me 5 or 10 years wiser because it's shown me you can't depend on the elders for anything at this point because they really don't know what's going on. B, I just have to take some things in my own hand when it comes to my academics and everything because people just don't care. And C, I have to make sure that I'm reaching out to my friends because we're living in a world where it's just very volatile and people get very sad or very depressed at times, and it's my responsibility as a human being to make sure that my friends are okay. So 3 things that I got from this year, and there are many more, but these are the 3 vital things. So, but yeah, here I am.
Here we are. Kind of touching on summer a little bit. It was, I think you summed it up perfectly, pandemic, civil unrest, misinformation, you name it, happened in that like pretty much 4 month period.
Yeah.
But on a personal level, how did summer 2020, like, how was it for you compared to 2019, 2018?
2020 summer was a bit of a bummer for me at the end. Um, yeah, I was supposed to take the MCAT in March, got canceled because of COVID. Got canceled in April throughout April and even May. There wasn't anywhere that I could take it. And then the civil unrest caused a lot of other things to be canceled. The civil unrest also caused, I think, and I might be wrong, but I saw a news article where like the AAMC building was also being destroyed or something. But I don't know. But yeah, that all of that stuff happened, and didn't get to take it until September. So that pretty much threw me off track. And like, and I did study a little bit, and as I was studying, it kept on getting canceled, and I kept on losing hope because I'm like, am I ever gonna get to take this test? Because it is one thing having a deadline and like actually going towards a deadline, and it's another thing keep on having to move that deadline and be like, well, now I have to study more. Well, now I have to make sure that I'm dividing up my studying because I don't want to forget everything 2 weeks before the exam, or I don't want to have too much of a break. And things went. Took it in September, and here I am with med school applications waiting to hear back. So yeah.
And they're going to be phenomenal.
I could only hope.
I have a complete faith. Aside from preparing for the MCAT, you also had to prepare for a different fall semester, especially being an RA and having everything you do. So, what did preparing for coming back to campus look like within all of this new climate?
As a senior, I'm gonna be honest here. As a senior, I didn't really have many expectations when it came to online classing because I had seen what happens when you take classes online earlier in the spring semester, and I knew where it was going. I knew that the transition wasn't helpful at all. It wasn't pretty, and it pretty much drained me because I had to go back home. Didn't get any studying done at home, not because of any problems, but because I have a big family, and it just doesn't work out that way. Because I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on at your house, so um, it doesn't help. Online classes just really didn't help, and I had to make sure that I was here. That's why I continued with this role because if I wasn't in an RA, I would have been at home, and I probably would have had way worse grades than I would staying here because there's a lot of distractions. So I had to prepare myself mentally to make sure that I was giving myself enough time throughout the day to not procrastinate and actually work. Because once you don't have a civilized time schedule, once classes become asynchronous, I'm a student. I'm gonna get lazy. It goes with everyone. I had to make sure that I had that discipline to get up on a timely manner and get my stuff done because not only was that vital to my success from an academic point of view, but that was also vital from my personal health point of view because if I was getting up at 10 a.m. in the morning, I personally despise, I'm not going to say this to everyone, but I don't like people that wake up at 10 or 11 a.m. in the morning and they get stuff done by, like it probably is a great life going to sleep at 2. I have never pulled up an all-nighter because I've never needed to for academic purposes. I think for me, all-nighter would be not sleeping the whole night, but the latest I've ever been awake is probably 1 a.m. for academic purposes. I have been up all night for other purposes also, but that's a different story. But I like waking up early in the morning because it's easier. You have the whole day to yourself, and then if you get stuff done early, you have the rest of the day, and you can just do whatever you want, or you could just not do anything in the beginning of the day and push stuff back. And although that's not necessarily the point of the waking up early, but you know, but yeah, I mean, I got like I had to make sure I got up early, I did my stuff, and I gave myself enough time to kind of de-stress because there was a lot of stuff going on. And again, I had to make sure that I was talking to people. In a world of COVID, on a campus like LSU, which has been previously so active, it's been so popping with events. I mean, every single day when we went out in fall 2019, there were events going on in the Free Speech Alley. RAs were hosting events, all halls, or something of that sort. And here we are. I mean, we didn't even have in-hall events because of the risk of transmission, which I understand. But it really kind of takes the fun out of the job, and also fun out of being living on campus because you don't get to meet a lot of people and you don't get those interactions. So I had to make sure I was getting those interactions on a daily basis, be it through peers such as you on the RA staff, or just friends in general, just talking to random people, because that was important for me to succeed. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Trying to get that like stable schedule while also making sure you're scheduling in that human interaction,
Yeah.
so important, because without either you kind of just start to go crazy. So I feel that
In a
also.
way, now that I think about it, I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
In a way, now that I think about it, the intentional interaction times that we had were actually intentionally placed this semester so that we intentionally did interactions,
Mm-hmm.
for our benefit, not necessarily for data point of views. So that
Mm-hmm.
kind of helped. I mean,
Oh yeah.
if you look at it from that point, yeah.
We love intentional interactions. They help both the resident and the RA
This
socialize.
semester they really are, yeah.
Mhm. But so, kind of getting into that, what did the first week of classes look like for you versus now that we're basically at the end?
First week of classes, I didn't know where I was going. There was so much logistical information. I cannot explain how hard it is to look at a syllabus for 12 hours and not understanding a single detail of it. I loved the class. This was my biochem lab. I loved the class. But when I opened up the page, the Moodle page, there was probably a dictionary of stuff that I had to read before I actually went into class, and I did not want to read it because usually you just go to syllabus page and you're done. That's it. That's your syllabus day. We had a syllabus week, probably even more because we had a hurricane right in the beginning of the semester. So we had more than a week. We had 2 weeks of syllabus. So that really threw me off. And not only that, it's very hard to get in touch with your professors through email, because you can't necessarily explain to them like what you're having trouble with. So that was very hard. That was very difficult. And the exam thing just didn't make sense. Proctoring exams, especially in classes, upper level biology classes, where usually you would have practical information, not necessarily a lot of theoretical stuff. So that didn't make any sense. But here I am. That was the first week of classes, and here I am in the last week of classes where I practically have aced everything, in my opinion. I would like to think. Um, but also, I've come to an understanding that if this happens next semester, I will be prepared. I know how to go. I know how to navigate through certain obstacles that I faced this semester. And also, I'm taking more credit hours next semester for some reason. Is that a good thing? No, but I need to do it to be able to graduate on time. But yeah, I mean, being in my last week of the semester, it just went by like nothing. It went by in a blink of an eye. To be honest, I mean, I could vividly remember in the middle of semester, I was like, how will I get through this semester? It wasn't a lot of work, but it was so much work because I just kept on delaying it, procrastinating. Procrastinating was big in this semester. I mean, being a senior and doing that, senioritis is one thing. Procrastination is on a whole. Like senioritis this year kicked in 3 times as hard for anyone who's a senior because you didn't want to get anything done. But then here we are. I mean, we got everything finished with, and we're almost there. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely had that moment right about at midterms where I'm like, am I actually going to survive until December? And now
Mhm.
it's like, I just really need to get to December 2nd, and then I'm good. And then I'm home free.
Yep.
But I have 2 applications due on December 2nd. Well, December 1st. So December 2nd is like the day after both of them are submitted, which is
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday. And speaking of grad school, catch us up on all your like med school preparation and where you are right now.
So med school preparation usually begins, and I kind of began it late because of the lack of information and just being the first one to ever apply and COVID semester and everything.
Mm.
Usually, ideally, you want to begin it your sophomore year, going into your junior year. So that summer, you want to start prepping for the MCAT. Take your MCAT by the end of your junior year's first semester or second semester. Um, in this case, I took it my senior year's first semester, which wasn't a good thing, but I couldn't do anything about it. And colleges obliged; they understood, what happened. Um, and you want to start doing your application. There's a personal statement that you have to write. It's around 5,000 words, and it can be on a various number of topics. That was redundant. It could be on various topics. After you get your personal statement done, you start looking at medical schools that you want to apply to, or anything that you like kind of think that you could get into based off of your GPA at that point. And if you have your MCAT score, you could look into your MCAT score and see if you can get into certain medical schools. And then you start you open up an account on MCAS, and it's very similar to Common App, but it's a bit more complicated in the fact that there's a lot more that goes into the whole application process, the background check and everything, and also like the right letter of recommendation and all that stuff. And once you apply for that, usually you get that stuff over with by May or June, and you submit your application for verification. It takes around 8 weeks, and mine took around 4 weeks because they were trying to expedite the stuff because of the amount of applications they had. So around July, your application gets verified and you submit it, and then you wait. This year, I submitted my applications around July, but because of my MCAT, my application as a whole got delayed until I took it. So like probably late October, I actually submitted it, which is very late for med schools, but I still got it on time because a lot of medical schools were offering that leniency because of COVID. And and now here we are. I mean, some people have gotten their acceptances, some people have gotten their rejections. I have yet to receive either, which might be a good sign. Um, but then again, you never know.
Yeah, sometimes no news is good news.
At this point, it's better than being rejected because I'm anxious, but at least I'm not disappointed. So
Yeah, no, that's really fair. How many schools are you applying to?
around 13. For my undergrad, I applied to around 25 schools. I got into 23. So
okay. Yeah. Subtle flex, but okay. I applied to like 4 and I got into 2. So I'm only applying to 3 grad schools because application fees are expensive.
They are. They very are. I mean, they very much are. But I used all the advantages that I could have with the fee waiver stuff. I mean, I saved money where I could. I was very frugal with the application stuff because I'm not a rich guy.
Yeah.
So like if I don't get into med school, grad school is going to be another thing because I want to continue my studies, and that might be a good thing for me because that could only make me more credible in my field. But that's just something that along the line, I just have to see if I get in or not. But yeah, that's going to be something that I have to look into also.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to getting some acceptance letters. You're gonna get some. I want you to get all of them.
If I do, I will throw a party. I'm going to throw a Zoom party.
That would be amazing. So, with these schools, and you kind of touched on this, but how are they changing their requirements, or like, are they changing residencies too, or what does that look like?
So, some schools are being very lenient with the MCAT stuff. Excuse me. Some schools are being very lenient with GPAs. They're like taking the pass and fail, all that. Some schools with the MCAT stuff, they're being lenient as they're either not accepting MCATs anymore, which is very rare, but it's still
Mhm.
happening. Or they're giving you an extension till January or January of 2021 to retake it if you have to. Um, and through with residency, I don't really think there's a lot of leniency there because it's going to be the same. In fact, I would probably be wrong to say this, but I have a feeling that a lot of people will be applying in state instead of going out of state just because of the cost this year and people not making enough money last year because of COVID. And also just the risk of infection and everything. There are going to be more in-state applications in general. So yeah, other than that, I can't really see there being a big difference with medical schools because the the bulk of their money usually comes, and initially the bulk of their money comes from applications. So people are going to be applying to there, yeah. So um, the only thing I could see is not having enough out-of-state applicants, which is fine because they usually prefer in-state applicants. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I know my schools. I got to speak with someone from one of them, and they're probably looking to return to normal depending on how things happen in spring. So we'll see. I have one more question.
mm-hmm.
Now that fall is kind of behind us and spring looks like it'll be fall part two, hopefully just a light edition. How do you
Hopefully.
feel? Hopefully, yeah, we'll see after Christmas break. But how do you feel about what spring is shaping up to be, especially with commencement and everything?
I can't really associate a feeling with it right now because I really just don't know where we're gonna go from December 25th onwards. I mean, I don't even think Christmas is gonna be the problem. I think it's gonna be New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the parties, um, and then people coming back. I really don't know how to word it because I feel amazing if I would feel amazing if they would have an in-person graduation, which they probably will. But then that's coming from right now. And right now, we're seeing a lot of increases in cases throughout the United States. So, I mean, will we be back to normal? I hope. That's a very, optimistic view. In a realist sense, there will be probably some lockdowns that will be happening, which will probably, be detrimental to academics. So the classes that I have in person next semester might just get moved online again, which I'm ready for. I know how to ace them at this point, but to be honest, I just really wished that by January 2021 there was a vaccine and people got back to their normal lives because I would really want my last semester to be a wholesome experience. But that's too much to ask from 2020 right now because 2020 is going to play and probably throw another ball at us because we still have December. So you never know. Yeah. But next semester, I really can't tell you because I don't know. I really don't know how to feel.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's very much up in the air, and it'll be something we have to play by ear.
Yeah.
Honestly. Hi, friends. Thank you again for listening to this three-part series interviewing seniors during the year of COVID. I had a ton of fun getting to know these individuals and seeing how what they wanted to do has really been impacted and changed by this year's pandemic. If you want to see more of stuff like this, also let me know in the comments. I had a lot of fun creating this three-part series, and I would love to do more in the future. And as always, peace.